Buy those tips. Maybe. Oh, wait, I have volatility right here. How's it going, AR-15? How we doing? I think I was looking at this. Oh, yeah. Just because this is getting even tighter today. So kind of like to make little markers in my head for like what I want to talk about. How's it going? I'm in Netflix right now. Oh, dude. If you're watching Netflix, okay. Guilty pleasure, I like reality TV. So if you haven't seen Singles Inferno, it's a Korean dating show, and it is so funny. We said it might. It still has that chance to pop. It's not popped yet. But how's your trades going? How's everyone going? Tesla? Let's see how that Tesla trade's going. We got that break to the upside. Haven't gotten it to pull back down. Really would like this to come in strong, but I think you will run into that resistance right up in this area. But today it's very important as there are I think it's like $3.1 trillion on the line. Oh yeah, you're in calls. Okay. But not for Tesla, but for something else. Were you NVIDIA? Were you NVIDIA? I can't remember correctly, but you really want to come and make a new high. But we could consolidate. Something that I wanted to talk about maybe in my Saturday video, or maybe Sunday, was the how the stock market kind of behaves around Christmas time. But Tesla right now, we haven't seen that fade. We'll watch the last few minutes. There's like 3-point-something trillion on the line today. So we have to watch the end of the day, especially that last 15 minutes, to see how people reposition towards the end of the day. The one thing I know live I wanted to see was how NVIDIA's making the up move, and we're starting to see that fade, right? So we have crossed. Good sign for the bulls. Oh, for Netflix. Sorry. Oh god. Oh, sorry. My girlfriend was here today, so we actually watched some Netflix during our lunch. All right, so I'm really paying attention if this is going to fade, and then Netflix. Okay, so Netflix. This is another one I could have talked about just because we were talking about how a lot of the stocks are rejecting the move, right? So you see this big buying come up, and we're not able to cross as of this moment. Like that's where it could be. This could be consolidating sideways to then pop higher. Pay attention to that. Maybe once these moving averages catch up, it's able to catch a bid. So that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of people think I'm super bearish all the time. No, I'm just calling it how I see it. And if you're looking at, say, SPY, it's like this doesn't look like a good place for someone to start investing. Is overall what I'm going to be talking about. But you can find plays, right? Even NVIDIA, you can find this play, that consolidation based out. Okay, we're above all the moving averages again, getting that crossing, that confirmation on the MACD. If this continues, you're probably going to see this go up. And that's where I can be bullish, right? This pattern, boom, 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 which I might do that for fun. Let's measure out how high this thing pretty much went. Take it from the bottom, leads you up to this 563. Now I like to take profit early, so I'll usually come down and go with a flat number of like 550. But that can definitely play out. We just have to see, because it's like, you know, NVIDIA could make a move higher, but what are other stocks going to do? So one of the ones we pointed out yesterday was Microsoft. And then right now it's retesting the moving averages, which usually when you do come out of these Bollinger Bands, we talked about this, you want to reconnect, right? Test the 9-day, and then maybe we come down again. So we have to pay attention to it. You can look at a shorter time frame, see if you see anything. See anything in here. So no, there's no real divergence here. But if this wanted to make a move higher, you could start to make a little plan here, right? You could start to do this, start to see if it goes like that, and then play from there. But it's just a few other stocks are showing different story than NVIDIA. Yeah, I'm longer dated. Didn't you tell me you like to do the 2 to 4 month plays, correct? I'm pretty sure you were the 2 to 4 month play. The thing that I was really paying attention to, if you guys really want to know what I was looking at today, and I was kind of like, oh shit, VVIX. So even though you're seeing not a ton of turmoil in the market and not a lot of volatility, the VVIX is coming up, which just could just say like the volatility of the volatilities would go up, which means volatility could spike soon, right? So, and look how tight this is. So I'm just being patient. Being patient wins a lot of the time. And the move index, you can pay attention to this as well. If this makes another leg, then you're probably going to see that TLT start to pull back. Which TLT is not really pulling back, but HYG is starting to get that downward move. But this could just, at this point, just be some consolidation. You need a more drastic selling pattern for this to be considered pulling back, right? Even the Qs, this is something I wanted to talk about because we gave those daily ranges. So if I go into a shorter time frame, like a 15-minute, look at how we react right around that daily range. So right when we get up towards it, we start to fall off. But this could be that slight pullback, retest an area that we use as support a few times now. Maybe we actually see this go and test the actual top of the range right on the dot before the end of the day. I think it's 119.24. About a month out. Listening to about $3 contract, just in implied volatility place, sitting at historical lows. Any slight increase contract should go up 20% at least. Yeah. That's true. We just have to be careful right now, because right now this could be consolidation to come up here. This could be consolidation to head lower. So filling this gap looks very likely. We haven't done that just yet. But that is for, you said that was for Netflix. Okay, so you think Netflix is actually going to pretty much explode higher. If you're a swing trader, you might already be in this, right? You might have got in at that red bar even. You might have got in right here, because that's kind of like, you can use this to front run. This is something that I talk about in the course if you wanted to know. So anytime this blue line crosses, right? Anytime this crosses, price will be above the 9-day moving average every single time. So you can get above the 9-day early, but it takes longer for this to confirm. That's why people use it as confirmation. We can look at Bitcoin for a sec. But Bitcoin's threw me for a loop, so if swing traders might even enter on this candle right here is what I'm trying to tell you. Once you do get a closing bar above all these moving averages, usually a swing trader will say, okay, this is your pullback. Now you're going to go again. It's getting tight, right? So you can see this start to spread out, whichever way it goes. Bitcoin does lead a lot of the time. I did look at this yesterday, and you'll notice there's no real divergence here on the MACD. But you do see that daily divergence on the RSI, actually. So if you take all the way even from this high here, you'll just notice it actually steepens down. So this right here was flat. That didn't play out too much, right? But the next one here, we're starting to see a little bit bigger swings. Now this could be a retest of one of my trend lines. So I had us in a channel on Bitcoin kind of going up. And my overall theory with this, because originally this was some kind of wedging, right, like this. And so how you can see when we're going to break out of a wedge, if you wanted to pay attention to stuff like this, like I think we had a wedge here when I was talking about Bitcoin. And overall, what you want to see is when you're forming like a wedge or something like that. Let's just do this for fun. You can see right here, you're looking for like little left head and then a right shoulder that then breaks down through that wedge. That's a good way to look at it. And then boom, we go back into positive territory. We see the positivity come back in. But we can bring back Bitcoin videos. I used to do a few of them. See how AMD's doing. AMD's just been really up here though. So the thing with Christmas is we could get a pullback next week. All right, we could pull back, like AMD is a good example. We could pull back into some kind of support, right? And then we could see that actually come test this on the week of Christmas, going into the end of December. So it's something to pay attention to, but the Qs touching that area, kind of still sitting at consolidation. I would even say indecision up in here. You want to bring back Bitcoin videos? Yeah, so Bitcoin I didn't talk about for a little while, but I did catch this pullback, and then I was thinking with when I stopped doing the videos though, I did have this channel. We touch the channel, we go up. But in this area, you can kind of see like a left ahead, and if we wanted to stop at this area and create that right shoulder grabbing this liquidity. But because we blow past it, you're just going, okay, this thing's probably going to go into a big bull run. But we can talk about Bitcoin. We can look at Dogecoin. That's what made me a bunch of money. I bought Dogecoin at 0.0008 cents. Something like that. But I'm not in Dogecoin anymore. Solana marks top signal of this bear market rally. Bonk meme coin went up trillions. Solana, I don't pay attention to Solana. The only other one I think I look at for my buddy, I help my buddy out every once in a while, tell him when it's a good opportunity, is Ripple. Now, see, the point of tomorrow's video is to talk about inflation, talk about the yields, talk about all these things, because there's a few scenarios, right? Look at this big triangle. We actually could see a resurgence in inflation, which might trick us into thinking everything is good. We got that soft landing, and then we get a harder landing later. So we're going to talk about that this weekend in the Saturday video. Thank you guys for joining. I like looking at your guys' plays. I had Shiba on here, but it's not even there anymore. This probably turned into a channel at this point. Yeah, pretty good channel here on Ethereum. Yeah, so this is kind of how you have to look at these coins, is more from the pattern standpoint, in my opinion. You can look at these divergences, but you don't really have one up here. But you do have a pretty big one on the RSI, so this actually could fall. And if we were looking in the shorter time frames, what you'd be looking for is this structure, right? You get this bundle in here. In the shorter time frames, you'll get a bundle, left, head, and then you come up and form that right shoulder right along that area to grab that liquidity. Now, if this wanted to break down, what you'd be looking for, if you think it's going to go further down, you want it to come down into this area and pop up, right? And then you get the left, head, and the right. That's kind of more how I look at the individual coins. I'm much more about the patterns. I mean, with this divergence on the RSI, it could be. But like I said, the end of the year can be a funky time where we could see a dip down, and then this could just slowly trickle back up. And then we could see that fall at the end of the year. Or once 2024 begins, sorry. 500 call. Does this get to 500? Well, you know you're not going to see a move like this again. Maybe half that, possibly. But it's just, I'm fearful this is going to break down first, setting up some kind of divergence on a shorter time frame. Apple, let's check out Apple. Apple closing back within its monthly and its weekly, went up and tested right above or right at that weekly. I think it was within 40 to 50 cents. The reason Apple's scary is because it's the one that has the divergence on both, right? So when you have divergences on both, that's when I really pay attention to it. Okay, but I wanted to go to the Qs and just do a little 15-minute here and see what happens towards the end of today. But we can still flip around, so keep commenting. Tell me what you want me to look at for a sec. If it's on a shorter time frame, we can do a 15-minute for a little bit. With this right here, you really want to see if this is going to be continuation, or you see how we kind of line up with these closing bars here. We ignore the wick a little bit. You see this pattern coming up. And then we say, okay, now we've had sellers step in at this level twice. So I'm actually going to make that flat just because on the 50-minute we get We get 1 rejection there, right? We get 2 rejection. We get this bar that stops right at it. You pop above it, but you're not able to close above it, so that's why I'm going to exclude those wicks in that scenario. So we could literally go like this, burst out, touch that daily expected move, and then rip it away at the end of the day. We'll have to find out. But this could be consolidation to head higher. It's just a lot of the time it will play out to the downside, but we'll see. And from here, because this is so big, right, this is the manipulation could come in and we could see this come all the way down and come all the way back up and then break down. Because you could start some kind of range bound thing. Check out the SPY. We'll check it out on a shorter time frame. This was really wonky on last night when I was making my video. I couldn't get the implied volatility for the SPY. I don't know if it was my internet or something. You could look at this, see it. This could break out to the upside. This could be continuation. So I'd just say maybe if hourly's curled over. Let's go maybe a shorter time frame, like a 30. See 30-minute, you get this beat down in it in the MACD here. You see that beat down, but it's not getting into that negative territory. So you risk another pop. And that's in positive territory, which just tells you, hey, you're in positive territory, so you might test this level or even exceed that level. So that's what you can look at with this. But if this actually just creates some kind of, I don't know, fills a gap or something, and then we see that lower high come in, then you're going to see that negative trend begin. But we've been pretty patient for pullbacks, so we're going to talk about that on Saturday as well. But usually when you don't see pullbacks in something, you're going to get a slightly bigger reaction, right? So as of right now, you're at the top Bollinger. You risk now, because we went even higher, a full-fledged drop down to the bottom Bollinger to test the bottom of the monthly. We're only halfway through the month. A lot of price action left. Well, you can look at these rates and see, when it comes down, but eventually it switches, right? Eventually it switches, we get uninverted, and that's when we start to see something going on. But I think it's just TLT. I think it's the bond traders kind of doing something that, and I don't know if you guys really felt this way, but Jerome Powell yesterday, he seemed nervous. He seemed nervous about something. And that's where this comes into play. And if he's nervous about something, maybe they're like, oh, something's going to break in the system if we keep these rates higher. So what are they doing? They're really pushing this. And so what you would have liked here is some kind of big cup and that handle to form, giving you that left head and right shoulder. They're not even doing that at this point. So they're kind of saying, hey, these rates really need to come down for some reason. And I think Jerome Powell knows that reason, and we just don't know yet. Let's see if the SPY is able to break through this little trend line here. Kind of the moment of truth for it. You don't have divergence on a 15-minute. I bet you have a 5-minute here, though. Yeah, you have a decent 5-minute one, but this trickling over could lead to another drop. Our weekly is just below us as well, so we could close back within that weekly. We do that 68% of the time. But how are you guys' trades playing out? I mean, I know Netflix is winning for you. That's great. Good job. I don't think I've ever really taken a trade on Netflix, actually. I've done pretty much all of these except for Netflix. But I think Might have to pay attention to Netflix. It's moving pretty good. This is crazy, though, that earnings the next day. 16%. Jesus. But this is kind of good, actually. We can look at this and actually derive something from it because a lot of Bollinger Bands are tight. Look at the Bollinger Bands here. Really, really tight, right? And then we dip down and we come into the lower of that, right? We dip down for a few days. And then what do? We get that reaction and we actually go the other way and touch the top. Then around here you get the 9-day to cross, which is actually a slight hint that we might test the top Bollinger again. So you can see that pullback. And then what do? We come into the top Bollinger. So, but I want to just stick with shorter time frames. I'm going to stay on the 15. I always draw on accident. You guys know me. So we have to see, is this going to break to the upside or the downside as of right now? That's a crazy gap though. 16%. That's kind of crazy. Now at this level, you should have known, hey, there's potential for double top. There's a divergence here that gets you close to that center line, right? It gets you close into here, but we weren't able to get there. So you're not able, if we're able to turn around here, you might start that series on the shortest of time frames that I would really pay attention to, the 15-minute. Leonard. Okay, so this is 15 minutes. So we have to get out of a 15, but the 30 here, this is what you can pay attention to. Sharp reaction down, but great buyback. My goodness. That was all on the earnings. Crazy. 30-minute. If you're still like swing trading, because we've been in an uptrend for a while, you can kind of use some of this. But overall, you just don't want that MACD to start getting into negative territory on like a 30-minute or an hourly. You want to see that kind of curl up. So then you at least have a shot to come test this area. Once you see that cross, you actually do have a shot to come test this area, and you actually have a shot to exceed it. Let me look at a daily before we go over that, though. But you can just see it. Like, look at it. Look at this thing. I mean, you're asking for consolidation. You're asking for at least consolidation, and not some kind of filling of this gap way down here. It seems like a pretty important spot, right? This whole area in here seems pretty damn important. But Bollinger Band, way outside of it. We got tight, right? We just mentioned you get tight, you go to the top. Now we've been at the top for a little while. Maybe you get that reaction, use the 200 here. So you just have to think of it like, should you get into a trade right now? Well, on the daily, it would be like, there's probably a better option out there. But you never know with the stock. You know, this thing could skyrocket upward again. And we could get some manipulation into Christmas or something like that. But just from an investment standpoint, you're looking at this most likely. You're setting an all-time high. What do you think? What do you think, Jonathan? Now let's see if there was a good trade in this in the past. A lot of divergences here. If you do trade under the 200, you know, good luck. Oh, there actually is a pretty good trade. There's two decent trades if you're a shorter time trader, but you want to use the daily. One of them is right here. And that's down on the RSI as well. Okay, so this level in here. Yeah, okay, I'm right. This level in here between these lows, you can see that divergence come in. You get that pop. What do? You test the top Bollinger. What happens? You come down, you test the bottom Bollinger, right? And then you set up another point of divergence that's closer to that center line, and you get this divergence all at the same time. Get that to cross, get above the 200. Well, you kind of consolidate right at the 200, and then you explode higher. So you're actually really good trade. Was a long-term good purchase right there. And you can see if you're able to purchase that and hold it for quite some time. Let's say you got out on this bar, 40%. Me, smart. I'm a smaller term trader, right? But you could swing trade this all the way up. 14% in less than a month. It looks like the yields are dropping again, but the 2 years. So we're getting more inverted, which actually is usually a good sign that we're going to be like, it has been the bullish sign. Now with Leonard here, if you if you do look at it, this bottom Bollinger is right around the 200. This is pretty much where the where they're saying this is as low as it could go at this point. That's how you have to look at these Bollinger Bands. So you're like, if it dropped tomorrow, like crashed completely, they're saying it most likely will hold up right at this area. That VVIX is almost up 10% today. All right, let's flip back over to the Qs because we were paying attention to this. Let's really look at this in these last 30 minutes here. Leonard. I always want to say Leonard. All right. I guess measured move. Makes sense. Jonathan, how's your trading been going? Oh, that's my phone. Sorry. My phone's been the best camera I've used for this stuff, so. What is this? Okay, so SPY's starting to break that level. You could get this reaction upward. So what I would look for is shorter time, right? Look for this gap, and then look for a test of the high. Then you got to say, you know, if this is popping out from here, 30-minute probably going to turn back over in positive. If we're able to come and fill this gap, you might have another leg higher. Look at that divergence up here. So good on the 30-minute there. Doesn't mean you can't go make another one, though. Gotta be patient. Wait for that to get real close down here. I think I like the 15, 30 minutes, just a tiny bit boring. So what you want to see here is if this is able to reject again and not get this cross, that would be huge. That would be very, very telling. Oh, wait a second. Okay, NVIDIA is consolidating sideways. For a second, I saw it say 1.27, and I was like, oh, is it dipping down? There's your divergence here. Triple, not necessarily with this one. You got it here. So you want to see, does it do this? Break down. Because of the liquidity in here. But this looks like some consolidation on a shorter time frame. Keep checking. Gotta keep checking. Is that still crossed? Yes, it is. So. What's that? Give me one moment. I'll be right back. And then post a bunch of stuff in the comments you want me to look at. I have ADHD and I like to click around. Alright, and we're back! I don't even need these headphones. I don't know why I wear them. I just like the quiet, the noise canceling. Am I allowed? I can't play music. I'm streaming on YouTube now. I used to be a comedic Twitch streamer, actually, way back in the Dizzy. We can go 1 minute for a second here. Sometimes you do see patterns in the 1 minute, actually. Okay. Oh, okay. This is actually great. This is good. Okay. So from this area, I don't know if you guys see this, but you see this big left. Then we see this big head. And then we could say even this right here could be considered a right, and maybe we do get that reaction to come test this area. Or maybe that's not enough right now, and we actually do some kind of thing here, and then we go up. But then you would say the bearish case, right? In this 1 minute, you can do this on 1 minute. Kind of helps you find at the very end. So if you see something that's way overextended like we are now, you can look at this type of stuff and say, okay, well, if this is going to break out of this triangle, something like this most likely happens, right? That's how I sees it. Bullish and bearish cases. Because you can't say it's not, like, you can't say this market is bearish right now. You can't say that. And then tomorrow I will be doing the video of pretty much like a quick breakdown for today's price action. And then the overall, you guys know the overall main videos on Sunday, but tomorrow I'm actually going to be working on it early in the morning with that explanation of like today and what happened and things like that. I'm going to go into some stuff about yields, how inflation could come back in the market, the whole soft landing narrative kind of being off the table. And even if we do get I'll do this, soft landing, that most likely means we're going to experience more pain in a few years. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about, you know, what Jerome Powell did and how it's affecting everything. So if you need, you know, I know here it's raining, so I've been watching a lot of YouTube. So if it's raining where you're at, you know, flip on YouTube, come hang out for a little bit. So let's have a vote. That'll be fun. Come on. Everyone's got to vote. From here, do the Qs, since we're looking at the Qs, from here, do the Qs end up higher at the end of day from here, like by close, or lower? Give me your thoughts. Doesn't have to be a long thought. Give me your thoughts. You can just say we're going lower, but if you want to, give me a why. But there's one thing you can take away from this live video, and it's something we're probably going to talk about a lot on Sunday, is this VVIX. I'm just going to show you guys now since you're here. You can see that VVIX. We were looking for direction in this stuff. Took back the 9. Took back the 20. You also have divergence down here. Let's see. Let's see if that divergence is down on the RSI. Where's that point? Let's do November 22nd. Not triple divergence, maybe? Okay, so that 21st, you can see. Thoughts in the end of the day. Nail dropping off. So this is something, it actually perfectly hit my price target, which is pretty awesome. I usually, actually, weirdly enough, I don't hold till my price targets a lot of the time because I have the longer plays. A lot of the time, if I see that happen really quickly, I'm like, I'm out, I'm done. I'm like, I'm done. But that's a pretty good rejection. And home builders, this is the home builders 3 times. So technically you want to look at HGX, you can see that again. But I really like home builders. But is this a good place to invest in home builders? Probably not. Even if we keep going parabolic and we see something crazy, that's asking for a steeper drop later if something bad happens. Now, IWM giving a little bit more downside. I think someone that I was... Yeah, and then we were talking about this yesterday, the dollar. If we do catch a bid at this level, we could pay attention to a small divergence. This is really hinting that we could see volatility come in, but maybe we actually do head sideways and get that manipulation around the end of the year, around Christmas. That likes to happen a lot of the time. Or maybe not. Maybe the Grinch stole Christmas and this starts to come up. So, Q's going higher, going lower. I'm going to draw again. God damn. Anybody have fun plans for the weekend? Someone's got to have something fun planned. I don't. Well, I got to make my YouTube video tomorrow. That's always fun. It's like, you know this stuff that's like, it's fun, but now it feels like work a little bit. That's kind of where it's at. It's like, it's fun, but it's some work in the morning. Like I have to wake up and get coffee and have breakfast and edit the video, make a thumbnail, do all that kind of stuff. All right, let's see. As of right now, we're getting that rejection with this red bar. You can see this starting to flatten. Now that's not a full rejection, right, until you see that downward move. So we need that downward move first. Is NVIDIA going lower on the 5-minute? We can check. You can see it's going lower. So this has been going lower, right? So ever since Friday, this morning, ever since this morning, you're actually seeing it trickle down. So you're going to most likely see some kind of divergences in this area or something like that, which actually we're not seeing divergences. But the problem with this 5-minute here, sure, you got this lower high, but we're not able to make a lower low with it. So we're not able to come down here, which tells you what? It just tells you that this MACD is in negative territory, but you don't necessarily have that confirmed negative trend. So you could actually see this as some consolidation, right? You could see this to head higher because we're not necessarily starting that overall negative trend. It's a good sign you're near that negative territory. You just really want this level. That seems pretty important on the 5-minute right now in NVIDIA to be taken out. And you'll see the 15, it's still in positive territory. So once we do see that curl up, even though it dips into negative territory, you see if we did dip even lower and curl back up, we go like this, we can come test these highs. Oh, someone's cutting something. But yeah, that's how you could use these shorter time frames if you're looking for some kind of trade. I am a longer trader, right? So I think the closest time I would do an expiration date is 2 weeks, but that's when volatility is very high. When volatility is not high, I do month out, or when I see a big bottom coming in, I do month out, sometimes even a little bit more than a month out, like 2 months. Someone tipped me off on the 2-month play. I did a little buy with a 2-month play. I think it was a couple weeks ago. Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago. And I already sold out of it because we're seeing such bullishness. I already sold out of it. It's like, I don't need this anymore. I'm good. But yeah, NVIDIA is heading lower. but you have to look out for those continuation triangles. So I'll just draw this out so you can see it in front of you. And I'd say this level right here is pretty important, right? But you might even raise this up a little bit, not include the wicks, because you see how all the closing bars are right in this area. So I would take the lowest closing bar, go like that, and say, okay, if we start to close beneath this level, even on these shorter time frames, we can see negativity come in, but we have to close. You can't keep getting these wicks. But you're testing that area over and over again. Tells you there's some people interested in NVIDIA at that price on the shorter time frame. Qs, let's see if we're breaking out. What are we doing? The 5-minute was able to creep back into positive territory. So now that it's in positive territory, you do have that opportunity, right? You have that opportunity for it to go higher. If it does cross down to negative, now you have the opportunity, maybe a divergence setting up, something like that. I really do think this gap will get filled very soon. I can't really tell until I see what happens if we test this level on the Qs. But yeah, I highly encourage you guys to just pay attention to the VVIX. Because it's just telling you that volatility is coming in. But that could mean people are getting bullish on volatility, which could, VVIX likes to pop a lot before the VIX pops. So that could mean we actually could go sideways or even go a little bit further up during Christmas time, because we like to manipulate around Christmas and the end of the year. And then we see the big rug pull in January. But I think seasonality is literally like today. I'm pretty sure it's today you actually see some kind of falling down in the IWM and things like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't really want to. Oh, I can get my other monitor tomorrow. That's what I need to do. Someone remind me of that. We need to pay attention if NVIDIA's crossing on the daily. We need to pay attention if Meta's crossing on the daily. Even though it is crossing, I won't be taking any trades to the bull side for the most part, just because it's not, it's kind of a situation where it's like we could melt up or we could crash. And usually I'm just like bullish for now. Yes. So the thing with this here is I just noticed this wedging. So I do pay attention to this as well. And this is where you can kind of see that divergence on the MACD. And where this would actually play out might lead us back down to here, which is kind of why I made that thumbnail for my previous video. Was just kind of based on this. It was like, okay, your upside, you could violate this, and then we get some kind of surge, and then that fades, and then we come back down. So I thought with this bullishness, actually, like today or yesterday, because we do have a lot of puts and we have OPEX, you actually could see this like surge up, and then people sell those positions at the end of the day. Like those people start to cover, and then it falls down. But right now you're holding within this wedging. Doesn't mean we have to break. We could do this, right? We could go down, then back up, then come down, and actually get a test of this level before the year is up. What are the two that I was paying attention to? Meta. Okay, Meta getting that crossing, so we need to pay attention to it. NVIDIA getting that crossing, so we need to pay attention to it as well. We'll bring this up on Sunday. Sorry, I jumped and watched the video back before. I am actually short now. Why? What convinced you to go short? It was the. Hold on, let me look. Let me see. I track futures. I just don't. I do like looking at the overall market because most of the time I'm trading these individual stocks. Most of the time I'm not doing trades in the SPY and the Qs necessarily. Keeps things cheaper, keeps my risk a little bit lower to do the individual stocks like Amazon, Apple, Microsoft was one of them, and even AMD. AMD, if you look at this one, you're like, sheesh. Now I'm gonna here. I'll show you guys something cool. The reason that we need to really look at like this video for tomorrow is because if we look at things like Microsoft and we pull up a weekly, this is where things could get pretty ugly. And I think I might have mentioned this a little bit at some point, maybe live or something like that, the last time we did live. But I want you to just notice this divergence here. So a weekly divergence can be really strong, and that actually could mean that we're going to make some kind of big, like, actual push down to maybe come to the 200. So that's overall what I was like pointing out. We do have divergences here, which just tells you, within probably a few weeks, you're going to know if this thing is actually coming down and maybe testing this area and then coming back up and not getting that cross on this MACD. So Microsoft's really good to look at for that overall crash scenario, because if this starts to confirm a weekly like closing below this trend, and you don't hold up at the 50 and you see this cross, your momentum might have shifted, right? And you can head down. So this is one stock that I'm really looking at for that. And you can see with the Bollinger Bands, remember we were talking about Bollinger Bands, how we like to see that reaction in one direction, and then sometimes we actually go and test the other side of it. Look where that's sitting right now. It's sitting below where we came here. So we're actually sitting down towards this 296, right? That would be like 25% or something like that, all said and done. 23-ish percent. But look at that. Way to trade like water. You were bullish 5 minutes ago. 5 minutes ago, you were like, oh, nope, I'm out. We like to see it. We like to see it. That's the sign of a decent trader right there. Yeah, but VVIX still. Oh, wait. That's the weekly. We don't want the weekly. Okay, that freaked me out for a sec. I was like, whoa, that was a drop. No, this divergence here, you got it everywhere. So volatility can come back in, but what we always say this, it can, but it needs a reason to. You have this giving you a little signal right now, dollar giving you a little signal it might bottom with a divergence. Just a time to, it pays to be patient. I think that's why that was a good message for yesterday. Last night's video was just like, if you're patient enough, you're going to get a great trade. If you're not patient, you can get a good trade, but if you're patient enough, you can get a great one. Okay, so NVIDIA 1.35. I'm just going to keep my eye on NVIDIA 1.35. Okay. And we're coming into the last 12 minutes of trading. Let's see if it's going to be a 10-minute rigged or a 5-minute rigged. Remember, there's like trillions and trillions of dollars on the line today. So let's see. Let's see what happens. I'm just staring at bars. I think with the futures, I mean, they can give you the move before it happens in the overall market, I guess. It's a lot easier to see the like triangles and patterns and things like that. I actually think it's easier to see in the futures. But for the most part, at least from what I know right now, it seems like most people are intermarket people or who watch my videos. So I like to go over the actual intermarket. Thoughts on the Dow crash theory? Now that's the divergence between the two. And see, like this that type of stuff, I actually do watch other people's video to help with like my understanding of it. But as of right now, it's not confirming, right? It's actually coming in and setting up a divergence. So you're seeing that actually go this way on the Dow, and it's not confirming that on the other piece. You might have to educate me a little bit. Amazon, real strong move in the end of the day. You have a divergence at the end of the day too on a 15 minutes. That's kind of sketch going into Monday. Just because of that comment, I'm going to research, like, that's how my brain works, by the way, Steven. That's how my brain works, Steven, by the way, is if someone asks a question or someone brings something up about the market, like say a friend or a family member or something like that, I'll spend like 3 hours analyzing it and looking at it the next day. I'm just very interested in all the different kinds of signals and things like that. Okay, Amazon getting that push. Let's see if that's affecting the Qs enough. We'll see if other stocks are doing that too at the end of today. And then I'm actually going to look at the put call ratio right now, 0.79. We do have some bullishness as of right now. You can grab a charger. Get out my video. No, I'm just kidding. Spy gap up Monday? Possible. I thought we would, I definitely thought the gap up today would actually happen. Where did we open up today? Here, right? See, I saw us fill this gap. I thought we might get excited today and see that fade. Now we're seeing that break up. Okay, so we're seeing the SPY break up. So now you need to pay attention to gap, right? Pay attention to the gap. Pay attention to the high. Gap down. Gap down. It's just, it could go either way. So it's hard to really formulate it. It looks like, as of right now, the VVIX is telling you that a gap down is pretty likely. Okay, let's see if the Qs are able to break through. That's more important. We see the SPY. The SPY is most likely going to test the gap from today, left behind from yesterday, and test the high. So what we want to see here is, since this is crossing, is it able to still stay crossed over the next 6 minutes? Or is it going to actually break down? So that's what we need to pay attention to. Buy side. Usually when buy side, gap down. Yeah, that would be what? Contrarian thinking. But you can look like what? Let's see. Let's be contrarians. We're not necessarily in the extreme greed yet, which opens the door a little bit towards some manipulation. But this could be something silly, right? This could be a fake out because we're seeing this divergence on 15 minutes. Not the most reliable, right? But 15-minute divergence, we'll take it for what it's worth right now. If we actually see this gap higher Monday, you might just be coming into, say, the weekly expected move that we're going to give you on Sunday, and then we start to break down, right? So we need to pay attention to it, see if this is able to curl up, curl back down, because you're really, really close to negative territory. So this is really, if you're a 15-minute trader, this is really where you need to be paying attention to the 15-minute. This crossing is so important. So if you're someone that likes to use a 15-minute while trading, this is when you pay attention to it. When you see that it's very close to that negative territory, and then you want to see, okay, if it crosses up, is it crossing on the hourly? That's kind of how I like to use the MACD. Damn, that's a good bar. Let's see. NVIDIA actually dropping off, though. NVIDIA going to 1.27. It was at 1.35. And Meta was the other one we need to pay attention to. I'm literally going to pull those up on the daily, and we'll go through all the stocks we cover since you guys are joining me here right at the close. we're going to go through all the stocks that we cover, okay? So we will give you a little bit of like a kind of a video format, right? Cool part with this big surge here, no divergence here on the RSI here. You get that flatness a little bit down. I'm just terrible at drawing. Get that downturn, so that's good. That's a sneaky one though. When they're not at the same time, it's harder to see, especially when it's RSI only. Because RSI as well, you need it to confirm that downturn. In order for that to be kind of confirmed as a divergence, you need that downturn. Okay, we're getting in this. We're getting in the area. We're getting in there. Let's see what happens. 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. This area is very, very important. We're literally closing at this area. So we need to see, are people going to buy this back up? We're going to see another surge. Or is this going to break down and we're going to start to see some kind of big pattern play out? Or are we going to be, we could even be stuck in a range for quite some time. So those are all things that we have to talk about in Saturday and Sunday's video. Oh, it unconfirmed on the 15. This is what we're paying attention to when we're looking at those shorter time frames. And then we have to look, NVIDIA giving at 1.15, Meta 1.02. So they are both coming down, and we just want to pay attention at the end if those confirmed. And we're just going to let those close. And then over with the overall, we're going to go through all these stocks and show you guys all of them. At the end of this live video, we're going to go through them real quick, so stick around. We're going to point out if those actually crossed on the daily. As of right now, they are crossed. Probably breakdown. Okay, our AR15 says breakdown, and that's a we'll sell off. Let's see, 3 minutes. Sometimes at the very last minute it pops up. So now this is another week where we did close within or outside of that weekly range. I mean, unless 1 minute we get something, but closing outside of that range. So that tells you, a lot of the time, 68% of the time we land within that range. So this is one of those times. So you can think about that going into the next 2 weeks. It's something to keep in your mind. Now, each week is mutually exclusive. So, we could close outside of these ranges for 5 weeks in a row. It's kind of like a roulette or something like that. But overall, you can just keep that in mind for next week. Look at the ranges. See which way price is going, use that accordingly. I wish I had the SPY daily. I just couldn't load it for some reason. Did SPY go fill that gap? It actually didn't. It left it. IWM kind of telling you a different story, more in that negative territory, looking for another low here to really, say negative trend is on a 15-minute. AR15 says breakdown. Who else? Anybody else? You got 2 minutes. 2 minutes to decide. What do you think? As of right now, not crossing on that MACD anymore. That's pretty important. If you don't have that crossing now and you don't get it Monday, then you say, hey, we're not going to come test this high. You're going to see that get rejected and maybe go into negative territory. So that's just something. Oh, we're starting to come down now. NVIDIA 1.12, Meta 0.72. I'm going to bring that up in a moment. How are you guys' plays looking into the end of the day? Pretty good? Is that Netflix? We break down, that's what I'm looking for, but this could actually be the opposite way. This could be like that. So this is what I'm saying. A lot of charts are saying it could go either way. All right, Q's 1 minute left. Let's see what's happening. AR15 says breakdown. So far, he's right. Oh, any action post market? little bit of buying coming in. Put call ratio ending at 0.79. All right, let's switch over to a daily and let's go through some of these. All right, so we did not get that confirmation at the end of the day. I'm going to delete some of this little stuff here. I'm even going to delete these dailies for now. Actually, I'll leave them up. They don't bother you guys too much, hopefully. But... all right, Qs, kind of a nothing day for such, a ton of money on the line. But, all these people had to do, because there were so many puts, was kind of just hold price where it's at. And those puts are just going to pray that this thing drops, but didn't happen. Maybe they already covered, right? So we have to pay attention to all that type of stuff. My Netflix up 11%, market too extended. I wouldn't swing trade anything. Okay, yeah. And I haven't been swing trading. I've been sitting on my hands. I'm waiting for a pullback because I'm being patient. All right. So overall with the Qs though, you saw how we were kind of formulating on the 15-minute, how we get some structure here at the end. So these last 2 days, we've got some structure here. And that overall looks like we're getting some kind of continuation pattern forming. So really want to pay attention to this level, want to pay attention to this level. And that's why at the end of the day, we're saying, hey, you have divergence. You actually had an RSI divergence right between these, which just tells you, hey, okay, this looks like we could pull back. Guess what? It did. Now we're getting some kind of continuation triangle forming, but this has a high likelihood of breaking down because we're right now getting that rejection. We are watching that cross. We come up into that important zone. That top side here of this triangle starts to fade down. We're not crossing, but it is flat. So it's not technically, I wouldn't say fully rejected at this point. I think you really want to break this, set up a deep low, and then continue to see that series of lower lows on the Qs at least. Now SPY was a little bit different story on this shorter time frame for today, but I just want you guys to see the SPY on the daily and tell me like if this is still, based on the theme of last night's video, is this a good time to invest? Is it? I want you guys to answer. What do you guys think? Is this a good time for you to be investing? Just I want to know your genuine thoughts. And you can put those in the comments while I keep going and I'll peek over. But right now you're getting an indecision day, but now you're starting to reverse and get indecision. So that just tells me that sure, this looks kind of like an indecision bar, but it is down, which tells me there's a little bit more leaning towards that pullback. Now this could still be consolidation because we went into the 15-minute. We saw this little bit of a wedge forming. And at this point, we were saying, hey, this could break out. And if it does break out, we could see that come test this gap. We could see it test this high. That didn't necessarily happen at this point, but we are rolled over on the MACD. We have potential still for that to happen. I don't want that to get confused. We could still go higher, get this market manipulated a little more. Maybe people packed on more puts for next week, really buying that. Good sign, though, on the 15-minute that this 50 on the 15-minute is starting to curl down. We got rejection from there, so that's something pretty important. But you really want this to get well within negative territory to continue that negative trend. Apple was something we were talking about, and this is inside trading day, right? But we're seeing that sell off at the end of the day. Oh my goodness. Okay, that is selling off 0.55%. So if that would have happened intermarket, right? If we would have closed more down like this, right, just below this low, then you could have a little bit more bearish case, especially if you lose this 9-day moving average. Then you have a case at least to come test the 20. But at this point, you're seeing that surge come up. The reason that we were a little bit saying, hey, be weary up here is just because of this divergence that we have. So we do have that divergence on this MACD up here, and you do have that divergence down on the RSI as well. So if you pull it up on your chart, you're going to point those out to yourself. You're going to say, hey, this just might not be the best place to jump into something. I might need to be a little bit patient. And we were talking about how when we do come outside of those Bollinger Bands, we like to come back and test the 9 or have the 9 catch up before we go higher. So if we do move sideways from here and that 9-day is able to catch up, then we might see these Bollinger Bands actually start to spread out, right? And then we can see another move higher. So that's overall what's really important on Apple. Closed within its weekly range though. 68% of the time closed within the range. It's actually getting that resistance as of today right on the dot with the monthly expected move. So that monthly expected move, we land within that 68% of the time, and we have 15 days left in this market. Well, I guess technically it's less than that because it's not trading days, not sessions, but 15 days left in the month. So Amazon, the overall thing we were paying attention to the bull side, because these Bollinger Bands are tight. We're expecting a big move, and we were really seeing if this would cross by the end of the week. If that would cross by the end of the week, it's a very good probability that you're going to see this extend in this overall channel. The fact that we're not doing that this week, hey, still, you want to see, as we are up in that area of resistance, if that is going to get some kind of pop and then fade, or if that is actually going to pop and cross that MACD, and then we see that another leg higher in Amazon here. But really, you just want to pay attention. Is it actually going to, close above this level, or is it going to close below this level and then remain in that? And you can look for those hourly negative trends to begin if that does happen. Tesla, another day outside. So we didn't see that fading, which is actually pretty bullish, I would say, for Tesla. So this is something we got to really pay attention to, and I'll really try to focus in on this for Sunday's video to talk about. But we want to see if this is some kind of fake out to head lower. But right now, you do have a good probability of this actually going higher and testing this area up in here, which kind of lines up with some pretty important areas. Some rejection up here. You got a bunch of gaps in this little area, right? So if we do pull this across, you can see we could come up into there before everything is said and done. This is a bullish thing. It's got this consolidation, right? And now we're getting that direction. So it is bullish, but we just want to be cautious because we were looking at the other stocks that weren't necessarily as bullish. Okay, NVIDIA actually did get that crossing, so that just tells us that we do have that possibility now. We have that possibility to take out or test this high at the least, and then what we want to look for is maybe that divergence setting up. So as of right now, this is telling you that the only problem here is really that you're still within this flagging, right? You're still kind of flagging at this point. You're not getting some kind of, big vertical move to really break out of this, and that's just something to pay attention to. But you do have that crossing on the MACD, so you can't be overly bearish on NVIDIA at this point. Now, if this did start to break down, right, if it broke down and we saw this break below here, and we saw this MACD roll back over, get into negative territory, then you have some bearish case there. Microsoft was one that we did look at, and the overall thing with this was, hey, you're closing below these moving averages. You're looking like you're setting up this ABC pattern, and that's why it pays to look at different stocks, just because it really helps you understand, like, yeah, one thing can look bullish, but if 10 things look bearish at the same time, maybe not the best time to invest. Maybe time to be a little bit safer. And that's overall the thinking here. If the Qs are going higher, then why is a big stock like Microsoft not participating at this point? That's just something you want to pay attention to, because you could just see a break of this level next week and head towards that 50 pretty quick. Google, we broke out of there. We wanted to see if that was some kind of fake out, and we're able to take back these moving averages. You haven't done it as of today. So you haven't done it as of today. You're starting to dip on the daily into that negative territory. But this just means, hey, the way this could play out, it could play out up, it could play out down. Right now, your direction is down outside of this triangle that we got going on here. So this could just be, some kind of bigger pattern to break down, maybe hold up at that 200, because this measured move here actually brings you right within that 200. Meta, we got to see if this crossed. Meta did not cross. See, and this is why it pays to have like two things to look at. We're paying attention if NVIDIA crossed. We're also paying attention to if Meta crossed, because they look pretty similar. Meta did not cross. It's not rejecting at this point. It's just flat. Okay, so the MACD is flat, which just tells me the door is still open. I can be a little bearish on this. There is a bearish case that we get that rejection and start to head down, breaking through this consolidation. But you also do still have that bullish case, right? If Monday we see that turn up, it's able to get a strong closing bar here, then you can see that start to test this high and maybe go a little bit higher. So you do still have both ways, but on Meta, I guess I shouldn't say Facebook really, on Meta platforms, we actually do have that a little bit more of a bearish case instead of NVIDIA. AMD, another one that we've been focusing on, just because it looked really different, it's just way overextended. So as of right now, heading sideways, we have to see if this continues sideways until these moving averages are able to catch up and then head higher, or if we get some kind of dramatic drop and then it wants to head higher. So that's where we'll pay attention to the shorter time frames. If you get this daily to cross, though, it really looks like you're most likely going to break this trend and maybe start to set up a little head and shoulders right around here. And then you can measure this out and say, hey, this thing could head pretty low. As far as the end of December goes, then you have to look in January. I actually think January could be pretty bullish halfway through January. Oh, okay. And then we also wanted to just point out, maybe the last thing we'll really point out is just look at the VVIX today. I think this is probably the most important thing to pay attention as of today is this VVIX getting above these two moving averages. You've noticed that we've really struggled for a little while now, ever since November 29th. So a couple weeks here to close above both of these moving averages. We've been tight for a long time, so it looks like volatility can come in. As of today, they're starting to spread out. So I really think we're going to get a big move in volatility soon. I just want to make sure to be cautious because the period of time we're in, we do get some manipulation in the end of the year, but it does have divergence on the MACD and RSI at the same time. So a lot of the time you will see the VVIX pop before the VIX, and right now the VIX isn't popping, but look how tight these Bollinger Bands are getting. They got even tighter as of today, right? So we really have to be a little bit cautious here. You're at that level of 1212 where we see big spikes of volatility. So we just have to be a little bit cautious, and I think that's over the overall thinking until we get some clear-cut direction. All right, guys, I might get started working on my video for Saturday. I might work on it a little more in the morning, but I might get started tonight. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining me today. There's links down in the description if you do want to get like weekly ranges for the individual stocks, if you want to donate to the channel, all that good stuff. And I really appreciate it for everyone who already has, and if you are a part of my Patreon, really. Thank you guys. Hope you guys have a great weekend. I just hope you guys pretty much have all the luck in the world next week trading, but we'll give you more luck throughout the weekend, all right?